Welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I am Mari and I am your go-to girl for crafting a closet that dreams are made of right from scratch. In today's video, we are going to make a white maxi tier skirt. Let's get started. Let's talk about the pattern. So you'll need two measurements to make this skirt. One is your hip circumference, so measure your hip circumference, and the second is the length of the skirt. So from your natural waist or below your waist, depending where you want the skirt to sit, measure from that point until you reach the desired length of your skirt. So my hip circumference is 96 centimeters and will divide it by 2, and my length skirt is 100 centimeters and I will divide it by 3 because I'm making 3 tiers. The first tier will be 48 centimeters my hip circumference divided by 2 plus 15 centimeters. These 15 centimeters can be less or more if you want a more gathered skirt, or less if you don't want that to be that gathered. You will have to cut two, one for the front and one for the back, and the width of the panel will be 33 centimeters plus 3 centimeters for seam allowance, and also for the casing for the elastic. I will be using an elastic of 2.5 centimeters, so I'm adding these 3. If you are using a wider elastic, please add here more to be sure you have enough to cover your seam allowance and also your elastic. The second tier will be the measurement of the first tier multiplied by 1.5, and you will have to cut also 2. And the width of the elastic will be 33 plus 2 centimeters for seam allowance. The third tier will be the second tier multiplied by 1.5, also cut 2, and the width will be 33 plus 5 centimeters. I'm adding also the seam allowance for the hem, and this will be a little bit longer. If you have a see-through fabric, you also have to put a lining. So the lining will be the length of the first tier, and the width will be a little bit longer than the first tier because I want to make sure that it will cover okay. And also cut 2, one for the front and one for the back. And now regarding the fabric recommendations, if you want a more fluid and drapey skirt, you will need a lightweight fabric such as lightweight cotton, viscose. If you want a more structured, stiff skirt, you can go for cotton, poplin, linen. And regarding the fabric amount, depending on the length of the skirt, of course you'll need more or less fabric. So for my skirt, which will be 100 centimeters, 2 meters of fabric will be enough. For my skirt, I have chosen a lightweight cotton. This cotton is see-through, so I'll be also making a lining. The lining I will be use the same fabric, and that's why I will have to add a little bit extra to my fabric amount. So in total I will have to use 2.5 meters. So I have cut all my pattern pieces, my 3 tiers and the lining, and the next step will be to stitch along the side seams of each panel. So take your first tier, the front and the back panels, place them right sides and stitch on the side seam. Also, do not forget to overlock the raw edges using a serger or a zigzag stitch if you don't have a serger. So do this for all the panels that you have. So I have stitched all my panels together, the front and the back. So now we have to gather the panels. We'll do this for the second tier and the third tier. So put your first tier and the lining aside, and grab your second ear. As you can see, the top and the bottom are identical, so decide which one will be your top. And at the top of the panel, make a loose stitch. A loose stitch is sewing with your longest stitch on your sewing machine. Also, don't make a knot at the beginning or at the end of the stitching, and leave long tails of threads, because we will pull those threads to gather our fabric. So this is the second ear, and we'll have to do the same for our third ear. Yeah, so let's stitch. So now that we have made the loose stitch, grab one end of your thread and start pulling this thread to make your gathers. And now take your first layer, the one that we didn't gather, and on the right side at the bottom of the layer, place this gathered ear right sides together so that the top is matching the bottom of the layer. And all you have to do is matching these shapes. Pin first at your side seams. So pin your ear in place all the way, distributing the ruffles as best as you can. Stitch these panels together and serge also your edges with a serger or a zigzag stitch. Now take the third ear, and after you gather it, we'll have to stitch it to the bottom of the second ear. So place the top of the third ear to the bottom of the second ear, right sides together, pin it in place and stitch and overlap the edges. So I have finished pinning also my third ear, and now I will go to my overlocker machine and overlock the raw edges. Finish sewing the layers of my skirt, and now we'll have to make the elastic casing. So grab your lining. I have my lining on the right side and the skirt also on the right side, and I will just put my lining inside of the skirt, and I will match my side seams. I will pin it in place. And align the top of the lining with the top of the skirt. You can temporarily stitch this together if you want to, but I will iron it directly. So I will fold both my lining and the skirt top all together. And I will press these edges. As my elastic will be 2.5 centimeters wide, I will fold once again to create the elastic casing, but I'm making sure that I am folding 3 centimeters so my elastic will fit. Don't forget to leave an opening to insert your elastic. Here is my first stitch, and I will end my stitching here so I can leave this open to insert my elastic. Now grab your elastic and measure it around your waist or where you want your skirt to sit, and make sure that you are adding a few centimeters to overlap it so you can stitch the ends of the elastic together. And once you've done this, grab your safety pin and insert the elastic in your channel. Make sure your elastic is not twisted, and once you reach your ends, stitch them together, stitch them in place. You can use a zigzag stitch, or you can make some sort of square to stitch them, and then you will also put your elastic in the casing and stitch your casing. All you have to do is to hem our skirt, hem the bottom of the skirt, and also hem your lining. So you can do this by either searching the raw edges and fold your bottom and stitch. You can double fold and stitch if your fabric allows it. I will double fold and stitch both for my lining and for my bottom of the skirt. And that's the end of today's video. Thank you for watching, and I hope I was able to teach you something new in this video and that you would try to make this skirt. If so, please share the results with me. You can tag me on Instagram, Mari the Dressmaker. I would love to see your skirts. I am trying to upload new sewing videos every week, so stay along, and thank you for hanging out with me today, and see you next week. Bye!